Hi, this is Tolan Peterson with My First Place Northwest, where we instill confidence in first-time homebuyers through education. So today our topic of discussion are different kinds of approval letters. So we're going to talk about three main approval letters today. The first one being a pre-qualification letter, second one being a pre-approval letter, and then the third one being a credit approval letter. So first of all three of these letters are basically letters from the lender that you're going to be using to get the loan for your home. It's a letter that states that the buyer is approved up to X amount of dollars to purchase a property. They're not all created equally though, so we'll spend a quick couple minutes here going over kind of what some of the differences are. So the first one on the list is a pre-qualification letter. So pre-qualification letters, pros and cons. The pros, I guess, or the perceived pros are they're really easy to get. They don't take a lot of time and energy, so a lot of buyers like to get a pre-qualification letter. Essentially, you can get a pre-qualification letter with a quick phone call to a lender. You call in, you say, hey, I want to buy a house. They say, awesome. How much money do you make? You say, I make about X. They say, cool. What are your monthly debts? Oh, they're about Y. Awesome. Do you know what your credit score is like? Oh, it's probably somewhere around Z. Okay, cool. What's your email address? I'll email that over to you right now. In theory, it sounds good, right? Real easy, real simple to get. Again, the problem is that this letter specifically states that the lender hasn't verified anything, right? They haven't verified your credit score, your income documentation, your monthly debts. They're basically just taking your word for it, right? And so the cons involved with that is that any savvy listing agent is going to understand when they get your offer along with your pre-qualification letter that this buyer isn't really approved, right? They haven't really gone through the proper procedures of confirming that they can actually obtain a loan, right? And so the downside, again, is that a listing agent's going to go to their seller and say, look, you probably don't want to accept this offer from this buyer. They're not really legitimate. They haven't really gone through the approval process, right? So that brings us to our next item on the list, the pre-approval letter. So the pre-approval letter is kind of a step above a pre-qualification letter. So again, you're talking to a lender. They're asking you, what do you make? What are your debts? What's your credit score like? However, they're taking it a step further and they're actually getting your permission to pull your credit score so that they can view it from the credit bureaus. They're actually collecting your tax returns, pay stubs, W-2s, et cetera, et cetera. So they're essentially verifying that everything that you're telling them is correct. They're then reviewing all that information before calculating the amount of a purchase price that you can afford to really, make sure that that's really within the realm of possibility for you. Before I move on, let me real quickly say, by them validating that you're saying, what you're saying is correct about your income, your debts, your credit score, I'm not insinuating that anybody's going to, maliciously lie or fraudulently make false claims to their lender. However, there are a lot of different guidelines that are involved with getting a loan. Kind of how you write off your taxes may affect, what your actual gross income is. Sometimes people have debts on their credit report that they just forget about because it comes out of their checking account automatically every month, right? Or their credit card automatically every month. So they forget about, this school loan that they took out 20 years ago and they get $100 deducted every month, right? It just slips their mind. So again, it's a huge benefit for you to go through at least the pre-approval process, so that the lender's really looking over everything with a fine-tooth comb, right, to kind of help make you more confident in your ability to purchase a home for X amount of dollars, right? So generally speaking, or at least in the past, a pre-approval letter has been more than sufficient in order to present and potentially get your offer accepted by the seller, right? Because it says right on the letter that your income documentation has been verified by the lender, right? However, a lot of our clients and our attendees that have been attending our classes lately have been utilizing the third strategy, which is a credit approval letter. The reason being is that depending on kind of what type of demographic you're looking in, what kind of neighborhood, purchase price, property type, every demographic's a little different. But if your demographic tends to be very competitive, right? So you're dealing with a lot of other buyers, you're coming up against multiple offer situations, bidding wars, et cetera, et cetera. You really need to make your offer as strong as possible. And so the credit approval, what that does is, again, you're submitting all your W-2s, tax returns, pay stubs, bank statements, et cetera, to the lender. The lender's reviewing them, but then they're actually forwarding them to underwriting, and your file is going through a full underwriting process so that your credit approval letter states that you've been fully underwritten and all you need to close the loan is to complete an appraisal. That's power. That's strength for a couple of reasons. One is you can go to the seller now and say, look, I'm fully underwritten. There's no way I'm not going to get this loan short of the appraisal coming in low, right? So A, that's powerful. B, because you've gone through this rigorous process already, which is half of the process of getting your loan, there's a good chance now that you can go to the seller and say, look, I can close in 15 days. So, 15, 20 days. The disclaimer there is have this conversation with your lender. Every lender is going to probably have a different time frame. The point that I'm making, though, is that you should be able to close your loan much quicker than all of the other buyers that you're competing against. So that's power. Sellers generally want their money as soon as possible. They don't always want to wait around for 30, 45 days to close, right? So if all the other buyers out there are submitting their offers with their approval letters or their pre-qualification letters and saying, we can close in 30 days or we can close in 45 days, right? And you come in and you say, I can close in 15. That's powerful, right? So on the perceived cons with a full credit approval letter may be, well, I don't know if I want to do all that, Toll, and that's a lot of work, right? Getting all this documentation together, submitting it, waiting for underwriting to get back to me. It's a long process. That's arduous. I don't know if I want to deal with that. Here's the reality of it is that if you want to buy a home, you're going to have to deal with that process at some point in time, right? So whether you do it up front before you get under contract or whether you wait until after you get under contract, you're still going to have to do all of this anyways, right? Furthermore, there's no cost to do a full credit approval, or at least there shouldn't be. If you go to your lender and ask to do a full credit approval and they tell you that they're going to charge you a fee to do that, that's probably a red flag. So yeah, that being said, there's really, in my opinion, no downsides to it other than it's a little bit more legwork up front. But again, this is a big process you're stepping into. I'm sure all you guys out there are taking, you're buying your first home very seriously. So I'm sure that you want to take all the proper steps that you can to put yourself in a more powerful, confident, secure position. So again, there may be some other letters out there that people are talking about, but those are really the three big ones, right? The pre-qualification, the pre-approval, and the full credit approval. The minimum you're going to want to do is at least get a pre-approval because the pre-qualification really isn't going to benefit you much. And again, if you're in a fairly competitive market, which a lot of first-time homebuyers are dealing with right now, we'd recommend probably going with a full credit approval. Again, it's free. Doesn't cost you anything but a little bit of extra time. So, all right, guys. Well, that's all we have for today. We're going to go ahead and cut it short there. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you saw, some value in some of this information today and you'd like to learn more about the home buying process in general, please go to our calendar reservations page and sign up for one of our free first-time homebuyer workshops. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.